Welcome everyone, this is your host Abraham L. Jaguar, a professional game master. First of all, this channel is proudly sponsored by Asilo. Asilo is a tabletop role-playing game of clinical and psychological horror. You will find it in the description and in the pinned comment. This channel is also proudly partnered with the What the Funk shop. Please check out their store for all sorts of products. They have dice, miniatures, game master screens, home decorations, and many other things. You will find the link in the description and in the pinned comment as well. And make sure that you use my code for a special discount. A moment, please. Let me maximize. Where am I? Oh, here I am. Maximize. All right. Tonight I want to talk about something that has been one of the most notable changes in my RPG career: the use of music and sound effects. Perhaps about 15 years back, 10, 15 years back, I was very enthusiastic about using music in my sessions. And of course, this is just my personal experience, some thoughts that you can use to consider. Perhaps you will do the same that I will describe in this video that I do in my sessions, or perhaps you will remain using music and sound effects because I will tell you why I actually stopped using them. Like I said, I was very enthusiastic selecting albums, soundtracks that matched the particular adventure. I usually just place the track because it was somewhat of a bother changing tracks every time the scenes were changing and whatnot. And some of that music really matched the situation, other times not so much. But I noticed that in the case of my players and in my own case, sometimes I ended up with a different tune or vibration in my imagination, in my mind. And I consider that a lot of players, no matter the situation, they have their own vibration. It sounds like a verse, right? Even if you're playing a tabletop role playing game on the side of expressing or representing a video game style of situation, or perhaps that you have seen in a movie or in a anime, etc. Each player and the game master, sometimes they have their own music going on in their heads. So even if you're playing like a Mario Bros type of session and you play one of the Mario Bros soundtracks, background music, everybody has his or her own idea of how the encounter would sound like. And that becomes a bit distracting or disruptive potentially. Like I said, this is just my particular experience, and you're talking with players throughout the years. They have agreed, my own players, but maybe it works for your group, right? The same thing when it comes to sound effects. Sometimes you activate those sound effects for explosions or whatever, and the players or even the game master, they think, I imagine the sound different. I imagine that it would sound very differently. So it's a similar situation between music and sound effects because the your imagination is so much more powerful. When I eliminated music and sound effects altogether, the sessions felt a lot more alive. The world, the fictional world, the reality further solidified. Because, like I said, in many tabletop RPGs that are somewhat realistic, take your typical Dungeons and Dragons session. There's not always going to be a bard playing on the background, right? And not everybody wants to play Dungeons and Dragons as if it were some sort of movie or cartoon. someone to experience Dungeons and Dragons as if it were actually real, as if it was actually a real fantasy situation, to put it in a way. And if you're constantly listening to music in the background, it creates some sort of distortion or disruption. And once again, if you want to role play a session in the veins of a TV series, movie, etc., anime, cartoon, every single player has in his or her mind their own tunes, their own music. So if you're playing, like I said, a Mario Bros. Session, and suddenly you play the music of diri 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 diri, but another player is thinking, no, no, this situation is more like ta ta ra ta ra 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 ta ta ra 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 ta ta ra ta ra ra ra, and so everybody has like their own that um interpretation of the situation through sound. It's a similar thing, like I said, when everybody is just visualizing the game world however they like. That's why in tabletop RPGs, the visuals are so satisfying when compared to video games, movies, because even though they could have awesome graphics, uh, special effects, depending on the form of entertainment, some people like them, some others like them very much, some others think they are okay, some others do not like them. But in tabletop role playing games, because they are completely powered by your imagination, you can look at things however you like, with the appearance that you like. Like I said, you could play an anime game, and the characters look perhaps in the minds of someone, they look in the 80s style. Someone else could look at the situations as if it was like a 90s anime situation, graphically speaking, visually speaking. Some others would look at things a bit more modern, contemporary. The same thing happens with music. Everybody has his or her own background music in their heads. Or, like I said, if you want to handle things a bit more realistically within the fiction, you don't even have music in your head. You're listening to the sound of your breathing, of the birds chirping that the game master described, the sounds of birds chirping, or the sound of wind moving through hollow trees. So that's why I stopped using music and sound effects. And like I said, that's just my case. I think it could work out that in some instances you use like a video game. Again, Mario Bros. You're playing your Mario Bros. Session and somebody dies, and you could play the tune when Mario loses a life. What was the tone? The tune? Like the from the old games. So just something to consider. Let me know your own thoughts on using music or sound effects. Do you use them? Do you avoid them completely? Still quite interesting, right? Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, consider joining as a member using the super thanks button. Take a look at the information in the description, the pinned comment. This has been your host, Abraham L. Jaguar, a professional game master. And remember, roleplay solves everything. Once again, thank you and see you later.